We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep and Habaragani to my Africana Studies colleagues, contemporaries, and seekers after the truth all. And let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I've always found goodbye traumatizing, especially since I buried my wife Carrie back in 2012. But you have to let an old man grieve his grieving and keep the faith and pray for me. Thank you so much. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles. And we're located at 8916 South Main Street in the city of Los Angeles. And we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of whom the Reverend Dr. Della F. Holliness is my good friend. And whenever you are over in the area and think about us, feel free to come and join in the worship. We have a prayer meeting on Wednesday nights at 7:30. We have a Sunday school that begins at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and morning worship begins around 11:15 thereafter on Sundays. You know how hard it is to get people out of the fellowship hall when they're back there drinking coffee and talking. But 11:15, as a general rule, we start morning worship. And you're welcome. Welcome. Like to see your face in the place. All right. All right. This is a social justice offering, and by social justice, that means we're not so much into the preachy, although I very firmly believe in the old adage that preaching is the spoken communication of divine truth to the public audience with a view to persuade. And how shall they believe in him whom they have not heard? How shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall he preach except he be sent? And I am a firm believer in the preaching of the gospel. Don't get me twisted or wrong. However, when we come to the social justice approach, I've found it's best just go ahead and say what I mean to say and leave my hooping for Sunday, even though I still like to hoop. All right, so we've said those things, and now let us look at the scriptural bases for our gathering together from the book of Proverbs, which says, righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And then, of course, my favorite scripture during this current administration, in the Luke, the 12th chapter, the last final concluding clause of the first verse, which says, beware the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. That was Jesus talking to his disciples. And believe me, I could preach right there. But let me go on to Ephesians 6 chapter and use our two marching order verses, 11th and 12th verse, which says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And you could substitute the principalities for the billionaires, Elon Musk and his ilk, and the powers for that same group and the other larger group that surrounds them, who contribute and donate funds, and that includes the lobbyists and the APACs of the world, and the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. And yes, we are encumbered in those principalities whether you can call that name David Stax or Mr. Thuo or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Warren Zuckerberg and a host of others, including and not limited to the Koch brothers and all of that ilk who what we call against the rulers. They are the rulers of the darkness of this world. That means something is out of sight, but it's affecting you in the light. And we have to be aware, and we are becoming more and more aware, sadly, of what we probably should have been aware of way back when the J.P. Morgans were buying up the nation and supplying the money to the government. The people that Franklin Delano Roosevelt invaded against, the millionaires, well, they were millionaires at that time, but they are billionaires now, and I guess in your children and grandchildren's time, they'll be trillionaires, and I have another word above that. Doesn't that sound strange? I remember when $100 was a lot of money. If you had $100, you had a lot of money in the Negro community when I was growing up. Matter of fact, when I was growing up, you had 50 cents, which was like a $4, just like that. You had a lot of money. You could go buy a lot of candy with 50 cents. But look at what we're talking about now. Billionaires and trillionaires. That's more money that you could put in this room. $1 trillion. This building is not big enough for them to put $1 trillion in here stacked on pallets, double stacked as they would be, $100 bills. Wow. My sakes alive, how times have changed. Let me speak about Ghana, who is in the news, how they have transformed their economy. And what they did, they canceled all the existing contracts to let the nations of France and Britain and Belgium and the United States just take their raw materials out of the earth and just transport it overseas without giving them an accounting of the tonnage or the poundage. Ghana has stopped all of that. And so they have canceled the existing contracts. They have banned the raw exports. They built a national refinery, and the refinery is to refine their own gold. What do you call it? Iron gold or gold ore, which is gold unpurified. Remember, the Bible speaks of the fact that gold has to be refined in the fire, so you can get all the impurities out of it. And what the new rulers of Ghana are saying, they refuse to sell a single gram of gold unless it benefits the people of Ghana first. And they stopped taking loans from the International Monetary Fund. That's the big bait and switch that they usually get the African leaders to bite on, and they promise the country money. Well, what they don't promise the country money, they promise the ruler money. And most of the rulers take the bait. That's why Africa is like it is. It's still like it is. But Ghana has decided to end the foreign dominance over gold decision. And I think that's very good. And so Ghana is taking charge, in other words, of their own gold reserves. And it stands to reason. If I got a gold mine in my backyard, why am I letting you come in there and take my gold and you ain't give me nothing for it? You know what I mean? But a wink and a nod and a smile and a handshake. And I'm starving, but yet you taking my gold and you making billions and trillions of dollars off of it on the open market. Case in point, Niger was recently stopped the French from mining their gold ore and just taking it out of the country, paying them 80 euros for it for a kilo of gold from Niger. But as soon as they got it off overseas and refined it, now France was getting $200 a kilo. $200. Now you paid Niger $80, but now you're getting $200 off of that same kilo. See what I'm saying? And so the African countries have finally woken up and stopped all of that. More of them are stopping. You got, let's stick my three fingers here. Okay, now this is Burkina Faso. All right. Over here is Niger. Over here is Mali. Now these three countries have joined together there and as one, and they're stopping the French from exploiting all of their natural resources. See, you're going to pay us for our natural resources, and just like you can go from, if you ever toured in Europe, you can go from England all the way to Belfast, Ireland. You ain't got to have no passport. But in Africa, you want to go from Burkina Faso to Niger, you got to have a passport. If you want to go from Burkina Faso to Mali, you got to have another passport. If you want to go down to, let's put this part of my hand and say that was Ghana, you got to have another passport. So the One Africa ideal would eliminate all these passports, so that you could, wherever I was, when I landed in Ghana, if I landed in Senegal, I could go all over Africa with one passport. I wouldn't have to have no other passport and no another passport check. Just like you can go all over Europe. You can go to France. You can go to Italy. You know, you can see all of those various places on the same passport, because those countries have agreements with one another. You see, Europe is one, and Africa wants to be one again, and just like the UK is one. So Africa is saying, stop balkanizing us, and stop trying to control our natural resources, stop trying to control our politics. And this is a young African generation now. I think the average age in Africa is 19. Well, the rest of the world is older than that. Average age of a politician here in the United States is over 50. Because Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters and all of those that are in charge up there, they're way up in age, man. They're at the age where they should be retiring. And if they haven't trained anybody, shame on them, because they got too old. They got too old. They got taking too many medications. They got too many ailments. They can't rise up with the fire in the belly like they used to. And all of that, and that's why young politicians like Jasmine Crockett and Rashida Tlaib and the other young ones, well, I won't count the radicals like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're young, but what do they represent? They represent such radical policies, such hypocritical policies. Josh Hawley made all that noise about he wasn't going to sign the bill because the people in his state was on Medicare. And what did he do? He signed it. And so you can't depend on it. And he's a young man. And so you can't depend on these politicians. They say, but they do not, because they all look like they adhere to Donald Trump. And these type of developments are hurtful to the whole nation. really to the world economy. And as we were saying, that Harvard finally got some backbone and resisted Donald Trump's bullying. That's all it was bullying. And you would think that with all the lawyers and attorneys that Harvard graduates, they wouldn't have no problem getting some lawyer to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. But these presidents of these universities are elitists like everybody else, and they like to go to the party. And they like to have their name on the registry and all that kind of stuff. And so this is creating a problem for the whole nation because prestigious law firms are knuckling under to Donald Trump because he's the president of the United States, and he can block them from getting cases, and he can block them from getting clients who have cases against the government. You know what I'm saying? And they'll start. Donald Trump is causing good law firms that have great track records in the past of standing up for civil rights and social justice issues. They're knuckling under now to Donald Trump, and that is such a tragedy. Like we say, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And that's what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with sin and reproach, and people who want to be on the list to be invited to these Trump gatherings, but they're not valiant for the people who either put them in office or for whom they should be standing up for, representing very forcefully and vigorously against this injustice onslaught. All right, going back to Ghana, over there in Africa. Now, Ghana now controls every ounce of gold. All right, through the Ghana Export Control Board. And now that gold is Ghana has took control and locked the vault. Well, that's what you got to do. You got to take control. You have to take control of your own resources in your own house. Is that right? All right. And so the current president of Ghana, Mr. Mahama, he makes it mandatory that the companies that do business with gold in Ghana pay Ghana 20% off the top in a gold bar. They got a name for it, which escapes me right now. But in other words, it's a gold bar, it'll be about this size, it's about like this cell phone. But they have to leave that in the country. They can't take all that gold out like they used to. And so as a result of Ghana charging them 20% for all that gold, iron ore that they are producing, then now Ghana is building up reserves of gold, so it doesn't have to depend on the IMF loans, and it certainly doesn't have to depend on the greenback dollars, which is the currency all over the world. It's another term I should be referring that gold and currency to, but it escapes me. But right now, the U.S. dollar is the standard all over the world. All over the world. As a matter of fact, that's why they killed Muammar Gaddafi, because he was going to try to get off of that dollar standard and get the African nations to have their own dollar reserve. And Miss Hillary Clinton and Mr. Barack Obama tried to scuttle all of that but it's coming to pass anyway. So all of their murderous intent, all of the assassination that they did on Muammar Gaddafi, it backfired, because now the other African nations are seeing the wisdom that we need to control our natural resources. We are resource rich, is what the Africans are finally waking up to. We are resource rich, so why are we the poorest continent in the world? It's because we have been colonized. I'm taking words, I'm taking liberties with their language. And so now the countries are asking for a larger piece of the pie. They're tearing up the old government contracts. They're making the governments of France and the United States and Austria and Portugal and Spain and Belgium and Norway. Oh, they take Norway, Lord have mercy, the advantage they take of Africa, just in that cocoa. You know they don't make no cocoa. They don't. That's not a cocoa tree in the continent of Europe. All the cocoa is grown on the continent of Africa. You know, but we talk about Swiss chocolate. Let me not get off my subject. But anyway, you can understand what I'm saying. But these companies cannot export a single ounce of raw gold, because you know, raw gold can be manipulated. You can underreport it. You can mix dirt with it, and you can be sold off through shady channels. And so Ghana's gold doesn't leave unless Ghana benefits. Now you can't beat that. And I thank God for the African nations beginning to awaken. Now they got some old heads on the African continent, but they got some new heads, and it has come to pass that, at least to my knowledge right now, that the leader of Cote d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, was planning to make a deal, or did make a deal with the U.S. government to let them set up a drone base in the northern part of Cote d'Ivoire, which just happens to be right on the border of Burkina Faso. And, you know, they want to assassinate the leader of Burkina Faso, because he's the one that has spurred or prompted all of this awakening or renaissance of the young Africans all over the African continent, because he seized power in his government and in 2022, and then he started to help his people. He think he bought 400 tractors and started agriculture, because you say if you're going to be independent, you got to feed yourself. You can't be dependent on your food coming from France or Europe or America. You know, you got to grow your own food and grow your own rice. They're now growing their own cotton. I think they're the largest, they're the 10th largest cotton producer in the world, Burkina Faso. Hats off to Ibrahim Traore. And so he's not biting the bait that the IMF and the Western powers have historically dangled in front of the to African leaders, to get them to kowtow to the wants and wishes of the Western world. Because, like, if I was the Western world and I went to Africa, you represent Africa, okay, I want you to do what's best for me. Now, if you got any sense, you're supposed to do what's best for you. And you're not supposed to let me intimidate you and say, well, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna put a military base on the northern border of Cote d'Ivoire, and then we're gonna start flying our drones over your country. And what did that mean? That means we're gonna start taking y'all out. Well, now you're gonna have to bite the bullet and say, well, now you can bring up them drones if you want them, but you ain't getting $1 or an ounce of my resources unless you pay me for it. And I mean pay me up front. And that's the way commerce is done all over the European continent. That's the way Europe deals with America. That's the way America deals with Europe. And America deals with Canada. All of the non-black nations deal with each other on an equal basis. It's only when it comes to the non-white nations that all of this intimidation and threats and things come to pass. And so hats off to the African continent for beginning to resist and wake up. Amen. Okay. And it says Ghana has gone from an export victim to a value creator. Now on our side here of the Atlantic, hats off to Mayor-elect John Ewing Jr. He's become the first black mayor of Omaha, Nebraska. You know, Omaha, Nebraska, that's where Malcolm X family hailed from. And so they have just elected their first black mayor. Nebraska, that's where down there where Warren Buffett is at. And but their politics trend conservative, but now they have elected a black man as the mayor. We're going to see what that's about, and we wish him well. Hope he will hold up and maintain his status and not kowtow to the status quo. Because just like they dangle stuff in the face of the Africans, they dangle stuff in the face of the American black man. You can get a lot of stuff if you sell your people out. And so we're just hoping that Mr. Ewing Jr. will not succumb to the bait. And hats off to him. All right. Here in the United States, we know that Trump's preferred refugees are refugees from South Africa, the Afrikaners, the Boers, more or less. Those are his chosen people, because he has said so. He wants the Nordic-looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed type of person to come in as immigrant. And Marco Rubio should be ashamed of himself, because he's throwing his own people under the bus. But when you sell your soul to that demonic power that is represented by white supremacy, and then you have to do those type of things. And so that's what's occurring now in the United States of America. And we're going to have to stay on guard. 2 minutes? What happened? All right, we usually I get 5 minutes, but now I'm down to 2 minutes. And so I'm going to thank you for listening to me. And I'm going to ask you to watch out for the rulers of the darkness of this world, for the principalities, for the powers, because they are out there and they are very influential and they are very powerful and they're very seductive. And if you don't keep a stern watch, as Jesus said, beware the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. All right. And as I close, I want to always reiterate for my brothers and sisters that are still working on a job, and thank God if you have a job, but if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you what you are worth, don't waste your life and your energy. Take my advice and don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We're out of here.